Well, a very good morning to you and welcome to Good Morning Ghana on Metro TV. I am Annie Fompof. We thank the Almighty God for giving us another day to talk about the country, Ghana, and see the way forward. I start off with the Daily Graphic headlines on the front page of the newspapers. Daily Graphic says government restricts maize, soya beans exports policy to ensure food security. Government restricts maize, soya bean exports policy to ensure food security. Reconstruction exercise not load shedding. Gridco ECG assurance assure consumers. Reconstruction exercise not load shedding. Gridco ECG assure consumers. COA GPM allocates $2 million towards Global Peace Campaign. Cattle take over Accra Central Business District. And the Daily Graphic comes with an insert of a picture showing the rather disorganized nature of the city. Ghanaian Times. UHAS confers honorary doctoral science degree on Dr. Ejapong. Deputy Speaker can vote ruling. Plaintiff back to Supreme Court. Prays for review of decision. Deputy Speaker can vote ruling. Plaintiff back to Supreme Court. Prays for review of decision. CRI drags Attorney General to Supreme Court over child streetism. School placement exercise, 93.4% of students placed nationwide. Christians worldwide mark Palm Sunday. Daily Guide. Kennedy Ejapong fires Ablakwa. Child rights drags AG to Supreme Court. Nana eulogizes RS Blay. 2 die in Akachi Youth Police clash. Former First Lady Emily Akufo dies. The New Crusading Guide. Osukinkawe Jase drags or Siahene to CID for alleged forgery. Ignore fake video attack against me. Deputy Minister charges. Queen Mother floors Ghana East MCE in court over Kwabenya market lands. Group descends on NDC over lies on the economy. UHAS confers Doctor of Science on Dr. Ejapong. Congratulations, sir. The Insight newspaper. Galamsey, Solomon Owusu calls for professional solution to end degradation and conflict. Musical Top Guns granted 20,000 bail over allegation of forgery. 20,000 Ghana cedis. Stephen Ade, he says government using 21 billion Ghana cedis to kill 9 banks, partly to blame for Ghana's economic crisis. Microplastics found deep in lungs of living people for first time. Hey. Microplastics found deep in lungs of living people for first time. The Informer. Atamils Institute joins UHAS 10th anniversary. UHAS baptizes Dr. Ejapong with doctorate degree in recognition of his contributions to society. Be fair in economy criticisms. Togbesri urges all. Lands Ministry denies 10 million cedis allegation. Let's preserve our oceans. Akufo-Addo urges OACPS. The top right corner says in this issue, Ghana water hampered by Galamsey. The Inquisitor moves to dirty Frema fail. Harsher job in MPP against incumbent national executives. Professor Ato Duncan speaks global peace. Kufuor eulogizes late Haji Aramatu Mahama. The top right corner, over 1K KNUST students to defer course over fees. The Herald. Boss is heavily bleeding to death. 400 million Ghana cedis loss recorded. Dufour's NDC 2024 political strategists out. Spielgabra, Fritz Buffo and others make list. Bawumia used cooked figures for economic address. Combative Sami Jenfi. Stephen Adai goes bonkers on a Akufo-Addo government. Use of rented private jets, corruption and economy. The Daily Statesman. NSS opens registration for defaulters' private candidates. $4 billion to cushion African economies against Ukraine crisis. Spielgabra endorses Dufour's agenda for new NDC. Ramatu Aliu Mahama laid to rest. The Daily Statesman. The Daily Searchlight. Review on voting rights of deputy speakers. Danger, hazardous chemicals found in water bodies in Ghana. Group reviews. School placement exercise off to a good start. Ministry sad about Apiasi development. The Custodian. UHAS confers PhD on GJC boss. That's just one group of companies. Ramatu Aliu Mahama laid to rest. Bawumia, Kufuor, others pay last respect. Bawumia spoke verifiable facts on economy. Professor Sesibe. Government consoles Apiati victims after downpour. 40 buildings being refurbished for Apiati victims. Deputy Lands Minister. Child rights goes to Supreme Court over conditions of street children. UHAS confers Doctor of Science on Dr. Japan. ADP ventures into job creation under agribusiness entrepreneurship program. The Finder. Parts of Accra to experience 11 weeks of downpour outage. 11 weeks of power outage. Gridco. Parts of Accra to experience 11 weeks of power outage. Gridco. And Gridco says, ECG says we're not in Dumso. Okay, 2 persons accused of evading 21.9 million Ghana cedis tax granted 1 million Ghana cedis bail. Child rights sues government over failing to enforce children's rights treatism. Police clamps down on indisciplined motorcycle riders. Ecobank Ghana donates 100,000 Ghana cedis to a Apiati support fund. Former First Lady Emily Akufo passes away. That's Daily Post. UHAS confers Doctor of Science on Dr. Japan. Competence, experience, and commitment should be prioritized over money and material gains in upcoming election. Alhaji Said Sinari. Competence, experience, and commitment should be prioritized over money and material gains in upcoming elections. Salary paid through mobile money will attract e-levy, GRA. And the Business and Financial Times, UHAS confers Doctor of Science on Dr. Japan. Tourists spend 60% of budget on accommodation. Child Rights International drags AG to Supreme Court. Stock market showing promising signs. Stock market showing promising signs. And then we also have FNB Bank posts 112% growth in PBT liquidity ratio maintained at 98%. FNB Bank posts 112% growth in PBT liquidity ratio maintained at 98%. And that's it for the newspapers. We'll go for a breather. I'll be back shortly.
Do you want a modern vision for your office or a touch of sophistication for your living and bedroom spaces? Look no further than Kingdom Books and Stationery. At Kingdom Books and Stationery, we've been selling furniture and stationery for more than 20 years. Ours is a trusted brand that offers contemporary furniture designs that are elegant and timeless. And with so many designs, there is something for everyone. Discover our enormous range of affordable office furniture. We have executive and swivel chairs, office desk, tables and office equipment such as office safes, computers and accessories, as well as cabinets and shredders. Make your home a sanctuary with our wide range of home furniture, including beds, wardrobes, coffee and dining tables, and poolside chairs. And that's not all. We have hard copy books, notebooks, and all the accessories you would need for school or your workplace. So visit us today. You can locate us on the Osutla Road or the Akwa J Junction in Accra. Alternatively, you can shop online at www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery, delivering the promise.
Trasaco Estates, home to Accra's most beautiful and luxurious homes, presents its newest addition, Trasaco Springs, a premium master planned community of service plots surrounded by an exhaustive list of amenities. The gated community of Tema to Accra Motorway presents you the finest opportunity to own a land that suits your preferred size, budget, and payment terms. Trasaco Springs is open to you for development. Our on-site sales executives are ready. Call on 055 659 2658.
To help meet your business and private printing needs successfully, we have just the right products and services. At Appointed Time Printing Limited, we specialize in digital printing, offset printing, packaging and security printing. Our innovative designs and complete professional touch on our print products such as posters, flyers, brochures, magazines, poll cards and any other print solution of your choice ensure that our customers are always happily connected to their audience. With our security printing section, our clients are assured of a highly secured and confidential work process from start to finish. At Appointed Time, our prices are very competitive. Locate us at the old GNTC building near Swansea Shopping Arcade, Accra. Contact us on 0501 454165, 0501 454167. Appointed Time Printing Limited. Our printing is the solution.
Hi, my name is Asamoah Gyan, aka Baby Jet. I want to congratulate the Black Stars for qualifying Ghana to the World Cup. You earned it in a hard way, beating Nigeria in their home turf, qualifying Ghana. Everybody is happy. You are supporting the Black Stars. Be determined, give everything for Ghana, play with your heart, and then we'll be here to support you. Watch the World Cup 2022 on Hisense TV for great picture quality and good sound.
Hisense, official sponsor, FIFA Qatar 22 World Cup.
They are hurting the economy. These taxes are hurting, and therefore you are not going to get the growth. And when you don't get the growth, you will not get the revenue. And when you don't get the revenue, you go back to increasing taxes to get the revenue, and then you are in a cyclical downward spiral. And so they have it wrong, and we will change that particular policy. We will use the tax incentives to grow this economy. And
propaganda you want. But if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will recall that I stated in 2014 that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. That was true then, and it is true now. It is 100% correct. So if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. But it is warped logic to jump from that to a conclusion that if there is depreciation in your currency, then the fundamentals must be weak. Do you understand the logic? It is very warped logic. If the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. But if the exchange rate moves, you cannot jump to that conclusion that the fundamentals are weak. That defies logic.
You can see Dr. Bawumia is out of breath. So a man who has died in the market, you don't need to announce his funeral. Credibility matters a lot. My brother, we all know the truth we have unpeddled, and we have said it, that if a lion is found of patronizing the marketplace, they will treat it like a puppy. Today, if Dr. Bawumia should greet anybody, he meets you and greets you good morning. You look at the position of the sun before you respond.
Ghana's problem is not about resources. Our problem is the efficient and honest management of the resources.
Indeed, we all recollect some of those mouth-watering promises, including one by the current president to transform this country, Ghana, within 18 months. This crisis into which he has led us has spawned hardship and suffering for our people on a scale never witnessed in the 30-year history of our Fourth Republic. Daily price increases, fuel price adjustments, and nose-diving currency, which has rather arrested the person who said he would arrest, he had arrested it. The dollar has rather arrested him, and so we're looking for him, we can't find him. I asked the IGP if he had the key so that we could find where Vice President was, and he said he doesn't have it, and he doesn't know his whereabouts. General incompetence, corruption, and waste of scarce resources have combined to make life simply unbearable for the generality of Ghanaians. General incompetence, corruption, and waste of scarce resources have combined to make life simply unbearable for the generality of Ghanaians. No group is perhaps harder hit than the young people of this country. The issues that affect the youth of Ghana who dominate our population are many, and in these times of severe economic downturn, they have inevitably been worse off than perhaps any other demographic group in Ghana. This government has bungled the important task of securing the welfare and well-being of our young people through sound policies on education and ensuring the availability of employment opportunities both within the public and private sectors. The government has been so poor in its policy making and delivery in education that at all levels, from basic through secondary right up to tertiary, the students of Ghana are suffering immeasurably. Non-release of funds, poor management of curricula, erratic school calendars, poor industrial relations with teachers, lecturers, and other stakeholders, among others, has created turbulence and conditions that are far from ideal and which threaten the achievement of quality outcomes in our educational system.
In Kufuor's time, one of the people who advised and helped him develop a strong CD was my running mate, Mahamudu Bawumia. Then he was Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana. It's one of the reasons I brought him to come and join me, that we will work on the CD and create again a strong CD that will be able to allow us to develop our economy and allow our traders and our to be able.
Just think about it for a moment. Just think about it for a moment. We have spent 62.3 billion to put in place shock absorbers, and so it is clearly, millions of households would have been in much worse shape without these social interventions. There are some governments who were in office for 8 years without COVID, without spending any money on financial sector crisis, without dealing with all of these, teacher training, nursing training, all, they couldn't put in any social intervention. Not one. Looking around Africa, so many countries growing through this crisis do not have the social interventions that the MPP government has introduced. And the rising price of oil has resulted in the prices of fuel going up across the globe, with petrol prices doubling in most countries. In fact, in the world today, the highest petroleum prices can be found in countries like Hong Kong, the Netherlands, Zimbabwe, Germany, Israel, and the United Kingdom. The global increase in fuel prices is causing hardships in even the most advanced economies like the United States of America. Global inflation is on the rise, as I said, in many advanced economies like the UK and the USA, who are experiencing their highest inflation in 30 and 40 years respectively.
One of the things that we fail to recognize is that it is a gradual process. It is something that transcends. So tell me, talk about the income that has been earned from digitization. When I earn money as a result of running a digital economy, it doesn't stay in my pocket. It trickles down to so many other people. But the fact that that person is not directly engaged in the industry and the person has not benefited directly does not mean that the person hasn't benefited. So we have to start to look at the indirect beneficiaries of some of these things and stop always thinking about the fact that because people do not benefit directly, it doesn't speak to any progress. No. And it does happen. It is so true. I mean, look, for me, I think one of the most significant things is this zipline project and this drone thing. Right. For me, for the fact that I don't have to struggle to send medication. I have some really sick relatives. The fact that I don't have to struggle to send medication to them anymore, it is a relief. Do you know what it does? If you say it doesn't, you don't feel it in your pocket, that's a lie. You feel it in your pocket because you are not paying extra money for someone to pick a bus and take the medication to you. But you see, we don't start to measure those insignificant things because we are starting to take it for granted. But let's not take it for granted. I have lived in so many African countries. I've worked in so many African countries. And what I see happening in Ghana today, I'm telling you, it is great. It is significant. It will propel us forward. And if we didn't have what we are doing today with COVID, with Ukraine war, with the financial sector collapse, I don't know where I would have been. Honestly, that is what gives me the passion to do what I am doing now, to put this conference out, to talk to the youth, to tell them what it is, and to encourage them that come on board. It's not only about the politics of it, but it's about the fact that Ghana belongs to who? It belongs to all of us. So start to see these insignificant, inconspicuous, these invisible things, these things that are not tangible. Start to see them, because no matter what you do, at the end of the day, it has a long-term effect on your pocket. That's the
government is broke, government is broke. But people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are two types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now.
All right, you're welcome back. So this morning we have in the studio Dr. Antoinette Chibo, who is the Executive Director for Dankwa Institute. She's joined us on set already. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Beatrice Anna is a lawyer and she is with the NDC Communications team. She's joined us also. You're welcome. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine.
Okay. Doc as well, how are you too?
I'm good.
Great. So how have you been faring after the delivery? Have you been responding to a lot of the delivery by Dr. Bawumia?
I have. I was on Asase on Saturday. I've been on, I think, Neat FM and a few other radio stations that called me for my commentary, so that was it. Yeah.
You know your video we just played?
Yes.
You said something. You said the people should begin to feel the impact of the progress government is, making. How do we do that?
People should begin
to feel, yeah.
It's not about people should begin to feel the impact, but people should begin to understand that the impact is not direct all the time, okay? And especially when we are faced with some of these global challenges, that is not within your remit all the time to be able to control. You need to understand and to see what measures you can also take in place, put in place to enjoy the benefits. And what I was speaking to was about the indirect benefits of some of the measures and the policies and the things that are happening. I was also speaking to the fact that public perception can actually cloud and take away, your benefits and what you have to be feeling and expecting. I think you would bear with me that there's this theory about expectation, so if you hype expectation a lot, or you look to expecting so much, then when it comes and it's not beyond your expectation, you tend to say that it hasn't happened at all, okay? So perhaps these are some of the things that we also have to then manage, okay? Because when COVID, Ukraine war, and etc., if you were expecting, because at the time when the NPP took over the economy, things started to progress, and the changes that took place, definitely expectations started to go up, and you expected it to even get better and better, and we all knew that it was going to get better. And then we were hit with some of these global challenges, and things took a downtrend. But it is starting to get better again. So there's hope, there's expectation, but let's manage our expectations because we still live in a global world. Okay. So my statement about let's begin to feel, let's begin to understand, let's begin to see the intrinsic part of it. And I used a very interesting example about the medications and the different things. So the different policies that have been taken to make sure that drugs can get to remote parts of the country and except all of that is money that has been all of that is money that has been spent. And I was speaking to that because those were some of the things that we recognize His Excellency Dr. Bawumia for, that he has brought all of these things into fruition. Yeah.
I just wanted to read this because you mentioned a theory. It says that expectancy theory proposes that an individual will behave or act in a certain way because they are motivated to select a specific behavior over others due to what they expect the results of that selected behavior will be. And in this case, I would say that our behavior is very much, or our expectation is very much dependent on what was promised us.
I don't think it was just about what was promised, but it's also about what was delivered. And if you look at, and if you look at what was delivered when the economy was taken over by the NPP administration, you look at the facts and the figures, and you look at the changes that took place, definitely there was a hype, and there was an expectation for even more. So rightly, when things start going down, people would complain and would want to understand why it is so, and would want to believe that, can you turn it around? Can you do something better about it? And this is what the lecture was about.
So, well, let me just quickly give you this feedback. Okay, Dr. Dufour has responded, and since he's been finance minister before, we thought it was necessary to capture what he said. He says that former finance minister, former finance minister Dr. Kwabena Dufour has stated that the opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, are better managers of the economy than the governing New Patriotic Party. According to him, Ghana's unmatched gains under the stewardship of finance minister when the late Professor John Evans Atta Mills was president are a testament to that. Quote, "We made it possible and we will do it again because we know how to do it." He said at the launch of the phase 1 of the grassroots party empowerment of self-finance initiative dubbed and Hoto projects for the NDC Ashaiman in the Greater Accra region. Quote, I hear some people are talking somewhere on the economy today. Whatever they do or say, what we achieved under the Professor Mills, they cannot do. They cannot do it because they just don't know how to do it. For almost 2 years, Ghana was adjudged the best managed economy globally under Professor Mills. Dr. Dufo stated the launch of the project was attended by the stalwarts of the former Minister of Trade and Industry, Eko Spiu-Gabra, and former Minister for Information and former Member of Parliament for Ablekuma South Constituency, Fritz for founding member of the NDC. So that's just a bit on that. And then Setepe also says that former Finance Minister Setepe has expressed doubts over government's ability to meet the revenue target of 100 billion Ghana cedis despite the approval of the electronic transfer of e-levy law. The implementation of the e-levy, which is expected to commence in May 2022, was originally expected to help bring in about 6.9 billion Ghana cedis and representing a 39% increase over the revised revenue target of 72 billion in 2021. So, in an interview with CTFM, Mr. Tepe noted that the target for this year is too ambitious, which is 100 billion, is too ambitious. The estimate for the 2021 was 72 billion Ghana cedis. When the 2022 budget was presented, it changed to 70 billion Ghana cedis. The Bank of Ghana MPC report suggests that the revenue in the country could generate in 2021 was 67 billion. So if it is 67 billion when we have fallen short of the original target of about 5 billion Ghana cedis. So the question that comes up, if all that the GRA could bring is 67 billion Ghana cedis in 2021, and we are expecting to collect about 30 billion Ghana cedis more, that represents about half of what GRA brought in last year. So you will agree with me that this year's target is ambitious and it includes the e-levy. Now, remember that the e-levy, people have already started withdrawing from the platform. Bank of Ghana has already reported of a drop. And let me read this one to you. Salaries paid through mobile money will attract e-levy. So whatever we calculated that amounted to about 6.5 billion that we're expecting to generate from the e-levy included salary withdrawals. So if you receive your salary through e-levy, it included that. But I heard this morning of GRA officials saying that they're going to make it possible to exempt salaries because, of course, you cannot be taxing salaries as well if it's paid through e-levy. The story actually said that workers who receive their salaries through mobile money platforms have to brace themselves. This is because a portion of their money is expected to be affected by the recently passed e-levy. According to the Ghana Revenue Authority, the manner in which the controversial law was crafted makes it imperative that the tax is factored into the revenue mobilization stream. Following the passage of the electronic transfer law, the GRA has indicated its readiness to implement it from May 1. Now, a principal revenue officer and head of project management unit at the authority told Joy News that the salaries are paid from their bank accounts onto mobile money platforms. Salaries are paid from their bank accounts onto mobile money platforms. The 1.5% fee will be deducted into the government coffers. Isaac Kobna Mwako made this known on the probe during the discussion. So, he said that speaking on Sunday, the official explained that the current framework created by the law as it stands does not distinguish a corporate mobile money account and an individual mobile money account. So they're all put together, right? And that will definitely influence or inform our projection of generating 6.5 billion. So from the banks, the disbursement from corporate accounts were not mentioned. So it is clear that one is exempt. But in the Momo, there was no distinction between the corporate Momo account and the individual Momo account, he noted. He revealed that this will also affect loan disbursements among other banks' transactions. These concerns, Mr. Amaku say, will be forwarded to the Finance Ministry with the hopes of having them addressed. He opined that the potential challenges that may accompany the situation have come to the GRA's attention. So let's expect that this will be addressed as soon as possible. But in the meantime, this is what we have on the table. Doc, let me now come to you. Just refreshing our minds on some of what Dr. Bawumia said. He actually talked about inflation. He says, ladies and gentlemen, countries and economies throughout the world are experiencing severe challenges following the COVID-19 pandemic and more recent Russia-Ukraine war. The pandemic, which started early 2020, resulted in the greatest economic depression in the world. And then we also have, let me pick this one, food prices have also not been left out. The FAO Global Food Prices Index increased from 95.1 at the end of 2021 to 140.7 in February 2022. The increase in the commodity prices has been exacerbated by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The path of inflation in Ghana has been similar to those of other countries following the COVID pandemic. Inflation had declined from an average of 17.5% in 2016. And then we also have interest rate. Before COVID-19, the steady disinflation process provided scope for significant monetary policy easing. The Bank of Ghana's monetary policy rate was cut by cumulative 11% between January 2017 and January 2021. These are some of the things as put out by His Excellency the Vice President. Doc, what exactly did he say? You know, on the back of what I've read, these are, well, latest analysis that we've done on what we want to collect from e-levy, which is also part of government's efforts in generating revenue to support what we have to do in the future days. What was in the Vice President's delivery that was very different from what has been said by the President in Sona, what has been said by the Finance Minister in the measures that he put out?
I think that for me, most significantly, both the President, His Excellency the President in Sona, what the Finance Minister has also put across and all that we've been hearing was the fact that we were not putting all the different facts and figures and data together. Okay. Whenever you are embarking on a journey, you want to see the totality of what has occurred and what has been happening. So for me, most significantly, this lecture was delivered well because it started from a history of what we inherited. And then it came to a history of what then transpired and what occurred. And then it came to a history of what the situation was, the environment that threatened the gains that had been obtained. And then it came to what the future looks like, what is being done presently, and what then the future looks like. So I think those were the very significant parts of it. And again, we should remember that we have acclaimed His Excellency Dr. Bawumia as the digital expert. So you know how he brilliantly brought this discussion about digitization and economic gains. It was also very significant because it hasn't been brought up in all the other lectures. So he didn't leave anything that he has said behind. He didn't come back with a totally new agenda. He came and explained what is happening, and then he infused it with the digitization agenda and the very, very essential aspects of what the economy is doing, what we can do to sustain this current situation after COVID after during this time when the Ukraine war is also occurring, how it is affecting the different things which we totally depend on. So he spoke to these things, and for me that was significantly new. That was what we wanted to hear. Okay, we should also remember, and I like how you just brought in this discussion about the food commodity prices, the inflation, and etc. Look at the part where he talked about the container price. Okay, how much it costs to even ship. And looking at a country like Ghana, that is still highly dependent on imports. Okay, even with the industrialization drive that the government is still pursuing, we still have imports as a chunk. And if you look at the fact that when I mentioned it on Asase last Saturday, I said trade surpluses were great, still great. What did we do to make those trade surpluses? What did we do to make sure that we had those trade surpluses? We need to emphasize on some of those policies. We need to deepen it even further, especially during this time when container prices then tends to be higher. Then it means it's going to even be more expensive for us to what? To import. So what do we do? What are the alternatives? And then I also look at the fact that what does Ukraine and Russia, what does that war really, truly have? What is the reality of it? What are the implications for us? You know, even though we keep saying it, for a lot of people, it seems far-fetched. But for the fact that we are actually importing grains, wheat especially, wheat is something which we are so dependent on, and 30% of it comes from these countries. I, for one, and I keep saying it, I'm so bent on, I'm so crazy about white flour, even if it's bad or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, are there alternatives? I know it's bad, but hey, when you grow up in a family that bakes bread, you get used to eating bread, you know. So you ask yourself, what are the alternatives? Maize flour, rice flour. We need to start, you know, zoning in on some of these alternatives to ask ourselves that even though we didn't predict that this is what would happen.
Last week that this wheat situation, I mean, what is it that we cannot grow it here? Our soil doesn't support it. You're not an agrarian, but maybe. I'm
not an agrarian.
I don't know. No. Maybe you can help me. I don't know. Our soil don't support what we're importing as far as wheat is concerned. And we eat a lot of wheat products in this country.
We do. A whole lot of wheat products in this country. 60%. So for how many years we still depend on imported wheat? And it is, you know, I've also lived in a home where we used to pound maize, you know, pound maize, and then you grind it into maize flour, and we use it, but it was for health reasons. Okay, so the alternatives are there, and perhaps it's time for us to start looking deeper into it, because the fact that there's always the argument that the fact that you don't grow rice doesn't mean you shouldn't eat rice, and the fact that you don't grow wheat doesn't mean that you shouldn't eat wheat. But where it becomes more expensive, what is the alternative for you? And I think we need to start looking at it. But yes, you are right. We need to start asking ourselves if we can grow wheat in the quantities in which we can, import. But I don't think, and I wish there were an agrarian on this panel to better explain to us why we are not growing wheat in such large quantities. Okay, so I think some of those properly structured interventions to ensure that our dependency on some of these things would be forthcoming during these times. Okay. We didn't predict Russia, Ukraine, and therefore we always thought we had a safe supply of these grains. But now that it has happened, it's time to also then start thinking about all these things, you know.
So Chumbwafo says that you can't grow wheat in the tropics. We grow millet and sorghum. Wheat, as in wheat for bread, grows in temperate climate. Okay, that's good information for us. So that's why we cannot actually grow them here. I still feel we can do something.
You mean we should grow apples here? No apples too.
You know, we can't grow apples here. But you know,
we should create
when you go to China,
environment.
There are some things they cannot grow.
But they have created it.
But they've created
the environment. But you see, there's also, I'm sure you know about the theory of comparative cost advantage, and etc.
Yes.
So definitely, you want to also then grow what you put minimal capital and investment into. So if you have a comparative advantage of growing certain grains vis-a-vis other grains, you would want to emphasize more on those grains. So then the thing is, let's emphasize more on maize bread and the kind of grains that we have. You know,
they must have the capacity. They have the capacity to. You know, last year we were talking about cocoa. China now coming into
cocoa
the
production,
cocoa production free. So, well, they are creating I don't think they have the environment we do.
But they are creating.
But they're creating the environment, you know, to grow. How best are they doing that? There were some videos we used to play that even the way they dry their beans, they've created the technology in such a way that you might
they
think
try
that
to get a certain standard of the
you know, and the
beans
way they do it
etc.
is good that you might think they have the capital to invest now, but they will reap a lot in the future.
Yeah.
So can we, you know, buy the bullets? Me for now, some of the hardship that we go through, you might think that I am happy. I'm not happy, but I'm happy.
Because it will teach us to be more innovative.
Because it's opening our minds that can you be smarter than that, like COVID did. You know, it made people discover skills. A lot of things they didn't know they even could do. So can we begin to look inside? So Chumba, thank you for the information, but I still feel
that we should look for, we should create the temperate climate to see if we
it
can
was
grow
something
wheat.
that I was expecting Dr. Bawumia to probably say how we are creating an environment for some things that Ghana traditionally wouldn't do.
When was Russia and Ukraine?
Oh, just
a couple of months ago. You know, so.
It started from 24th. Oh, okay.
So let's see how we go forward. But I just said it. I said we have to have intentional policies, and then we should also take advantage of specific things that was being produced in those places. I mean, look at, there was also facts and figures about the fact that we import 60% of our iron and steel. And we do have some iron resources here in Ghana. Okay, so time for us to concentrate on some of these things and ensure that we then buff up our production, so that our dependence of that.
That's what Dr. Bawumia should have said.
But didn't you read it from the lines?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so then
you mean read what from the lines? What you're saying?
He emphasized on all of these things, and I'll go back to some of the things that he talked about.
If I could, if I can.
Okay, I'll go through and show you where there are places where he talked about the measures that are being put in place. And I think that Dr. Bawumia at several points in time has talked about the fact that we have resources in Ghana, we have all that it takes. But if you look at when he started his speech, if you look at what he said there, he started by saying he's going to answer
the questions.
Yes, the 11 questions. Did he answer them or not? He answered all the 11 questions. He went through basically. He answered all 11 questions. And these are the questions that have been that people are asking fundamentally. People are asking, what has happened to the economic fundamentals? Why are the prices of goods increasing so fast? So he outlined it, and he went ahead and answered it. And then he drove into other areas. He talked about the different things that would then be done to make things even better. And he answered all of that as well. So I struggle to sometimes, I mean, since the lecture was delivered, I have gone through it several times. I mean, I sat there for 2 hours, 18 minutes. I heard all the things that I wanted to hear. I delved into it even deeper. And I understood the promise and the hope that he's given to us, that things are not where we think they are. We have come from a history of things going down to a history of things getting better, to a struggle through COVID. And now when we were recovering through Russia and Ukraine, that has affected so many other things, and this is where we are going.
So let's go through the questions. We have what happened to the economic fundamentals. Yeah. We have why are the prices of goods and services increasing so fast, which is, I think, a few of the ones I read earlier on. Why has the cedi depreciated so fast this year? Why has the fiscal deficit and debt stock increased so much? What projects and programs does government have to show for the higher debt stock? Are the government flagship programs like free SHS and the cause of our current economic challenges? Now, how about the promise to move economy from the focus on the taxation to a focus on production? We also have, where is the new economy you promised to build? How has government tackled corruption? What has government done to relieve the suffering of the Ghanaians? And how is the government solving the economic challenges? And the 11th question is what I will be expecting, or I was expecting that I should have read in between the lines of some of the things we've talked about, creating the environment for new things to start. It was more like government flagship programs still on the path. And you know that in economics, when you have made your plans and things hit you, which you don't expect, you probably will be forced to make reviews. But the government doesn't seem to be ready to make reviews to its policies. That's why I'm saying that there wasn't a line that I read about creating new environment. It was all about the new policies. I mean, the policies introduced by government.
Are you sure there was no line about creating new policies?
Tell me, I mean,
it was about emphasis
maybe I missed it.
There was emphasis. I mean, there was all the discussion about all the policies and what has been done. But I think you need to go to the conclusion where he talks about I'm trying to find that part.
What's the header? The header?
No, I've gone straight to the conclusion.
Okay.
Where he talks all about, for the first time, all the different things that have been done. And then he talks about the fact that the global crisis has hit us. And then he talks about the fact that we are on the right path. Sound, enhanced growth, physical, monetary discipline, and etc. We are bouncing back better and stronger. So what else were you expecting?
That's in his opinion that we're bouncing back better. There are other analysts in the system who will not.
You know that there's something that I always say: opinions are free, but facts are fact. And facts and figures that were provided in this lecture and they are undisputable. They are facts which he went through, and we cannot dispute those facts. But opinions about what people think about what he presented are free. So people are very free to go ahead with their opinions. But the facts prove and show that the industrialization drive especially speaks to the fact that, and he even mentioned it, he talked about integrated iron and steel industries. And those are places that we need to be continuing. We need to be emphasizing. For me, you see, there's one thing that this lecture sought to do. It sought to establish the facts and to create the situation and to establish the reasoning behind all the different government policies, and that it is going to help us to build and to sustain what we are going through. So for me, you said it when you started, you said at beginning, we are not beginning everything all over again. We are not now delivering to Ghanaians what we promised. Dr. Bawumia kept saying it. He said it is not about now saying that you're going to what? Take a whole new phase. No, it's about the fact that you are already doing it. But certain situations and circumstances have taken away the gains and or have retarded some of the progress that you wanted to achieve. So we were on a path, a very good path, and something has slowed it down. That does not mean that we should give up and say that, hey, it is not going well. But it rather means that you take a look at the different things that you can emphasize still within the path that you are taking. Emphasize on it and you will still go better. You will still go ahead. The numbers, the figures. And he provided all of that. So for me, it is not about the fact that he was going to now come and prescribe new solutions. It wasn't just about that. He has taken the economy as something that he's handled, came in with good measures from 2017 when the NPP government took over, showed and proved to us that from 2017, the facts and the figures and the data shows that there was change, there was growth. And then came all these things which we couldn't predict or we couldn't have control of. This is what he did. He explains all of that. He explains all that trend. And then now he talks about the recovery processes. And then he talks about his emphasis. He preaches more about his digitization, how it is linked to the economy. Because I think that a lot of the attacks that has been on his policy on digitization has been about the fact that digitization does not translate into economic growth. So he specifically and emphatically went ahead and talked about every part of the digitization process and how that contributes to economic growth. So it is not about the fact that he was now going to say that we are going to start this or start that. No. The facts and the figures prove that whatever policy that government has taken from the beginning is yielding and continues to yield profits. It would continue to cause economic growth, irrespective of the fact that there's COVID pandemic, there's economic, as a result of the Ukraine war, it will still yield benefits. But this is what we have to do. And he explains that using his facts and his figures.
All right. So A political marketing expert and a lecturer at UGBS, Dr. Kwame Mensah, actually said that the finance minister and president had already spoken about the state of the economy on different occasions. Hence, it was necessary for the Dr. Bawumia to speak on the same issues if he was going to shy away from e-levy. Why was the expectation of the people? Which was the expectation of the people? So in an interview with 3FM, he says that he explained that the expectation of the Ghanaians of the vice president, state of the economy's presentation, was his policy, his position on the e-levy, not unnecessary comparison. So the expectation of his address was on e-levy cooked, but he deliberately swerved it. I was surprised he went as far back as 2007 for comparison. 2016 could be ideal. I don't think people are interested in comparison. The interest of the people are in the state of the play. It is about the current situation. People wanted to hear what the solutions to our problems are. Dr. Bawumia said, among other things, the average rate of the GDP growth for 2017-2021 was 5.3% compared to an average rate of growth of 3.0% between 2013 and 2016. Therefore, with COVID-19, the growth of the economy is fundamentally stronger than it was in 2013 to 2016. Let's go for a breather. When we come back, I'll allow Beatrice to also have a take.
Frustrated after meeting all our targets. Company cannot help us with our health needs.
Honestly, they are not helping us. Something has to be done about this.
You see, just yesterday I was at the hospital with my wife, and can you imagine the amount of money being charged? So outrageous.
Relax, guys. Just leave everything to me. Today I will deal with him accordingly.
You have to.
I surely will. Today be today. Sir, we want to leave. We are tired. We've been doing everything possible to ensure the success of this organization, but it looks like our healthcare is not taken into consideration. Am I speaking your mind?
Yes, you are.
And that is not fair.
Get a Cosmopolitan health insurance for all your employees today and have an easy life. Call us for your package.
Okay, guys, you are leaving because I have good news for you.
Cosmopolitan health insurance, providing the highest levels of coverage possible to our clients.
Do you want a modern vision for your office or a touch of sophistication for your living and bedroom spaces? Look no further than Kingdom Books and Stationery. At Kingdom Books and Stationery, we've been selling furniture and stationery for more than 20 years. Ours is a trusted brand that offers contemporary furniture designs that are elegant and timeless. And with so many designs, there is something for everyone. Discover our enormous range of affordable office furniture. We have executive and swivel chairs, office desk, tables and office equipment such as office safes, computers and accessories, as well as cabinets and shredders. Make your home a sanctuary with our wide range of home furniture, including beds, wardrobes, coffee and dining tables, and poolside chairs. And that's not all. We have hard copy books, notebooks, and all the accessories you would need for school or your workplace. So visit us today. You can locate us on the Osutla Road or the Akwa J Junction in Accra. Alternatively, you can shop online at www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery, delivering the promise.
Catch every single moment of all 64 matches of the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. Live on SuperSport. Here for every fan. Only on DSTV.
All right, you're welcome back. You're also watching Good Morning Ghana, and I'm in the studio with Dr. Ashibut-Darko and also Beatrice Anna. Beatrice, I think you can have a take. There are two things I actually noticed in his presentation, even though I was asking Doctor what he said differently. But I noticed these two were different. We've recognized that the amounts we committed to the banking sector cleanup, and then what we committed to the energy debt. It hasn't really been main point of subjects in our previous presentations by all economic leaders, including the finance minister and the president. It's always been COVID and Ukraine, Russia. COVID, Ukraine, Russia. But I noticed that the vice president mentioned the banking sector cleanup and the energy sector. Those were two things I think were new in the presentation he did, that okay, now we're admitting that we committed some amounts to these exercises and they all added up to our current situation that we find ourselves. And there's been a figure out there that the banking sector cleanup, we used 21 billion. That's been the figure out there. But I remember that when the finance minister did the measures of presentation, the measures to, restore the economy, he mentioned 25 billion. 25 billion. So if you have your notes on that, you have to revise the notes. It's 25 billion. Even Mr. Dai, when he was commenting on the issue, also mentioned 21 billion. It's no more 21 billion as we knew. It's 25 billion as said by the finance minister. Unless he made a mistake, then I'm also making a mistake. Beatrice.
Good morning to you, Annie. I would address your concerns about the 25 billion and also the energy sector or the excess capacity charges, because I have a lot to say, and that is why when you give Dr. Antoinette all the time, I sat down innocently because I knew that I'll get a long time to digest all the things I have to say. But let me say that the whole lecture by the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, was just an exercise of intellectual dishonesty and economic fiction. It appears to me that Dr. Bawumia believes he has an economic fairy godmother, that even without doing anything, the fairy godmother may intervene and make the lives of the people better. Because, Annie, the real barometer for measuring an economy, and for that matter, the health of the economy, is the people's pocket. And at page 3 of Dr. Bawumia's presentation, he indeed acknowledged that, to quote him, essentially, the economy is what we feel in our pockets. And so I am surprised that Dr. Bawumia would actually purport to speak with facts and figures, make this observation that the economy is what we feel in our pocket, and still come to the erroneous conclusion that the lives of the citizens are better off today than it were in 2016. Over the weekend, I have read his speech like 3 times, the 129-page script, and I seem not to understand. It appears to me that there is something amiss, there is something wrong. And so this morning, in doing the discussion and analysis, I want to take it at least 4 sectors for the first round, I mean, having regard to time constraints. The measure of the health of the pocket of the citizen is the cost of living. Dr. Bawumia cannot tell us that, having admitted that the cedi is depreciating at an astronomical rate, inflation is all-time high, unemployment is highest in 3 decades. Our lives are better. In 2009, when the NDC took over, the cedi was 1 cedi 20 pesos. In a space of 8 years, when the NDC was exiting power, the cedi was 4 cedi 20 pesos. In real terms, you needed 3 cedis to add to what you had before 2009. Now, in the space of 5 years, the cedi has moved from 4 cedi 20 pesos to 8 cedis. You need 3 cedi 80 pesos. If you do the simple math, I cannot understand how any economist worth his salt can come to the conclusion that the lives of the people are better. And I've heard Dr. Bawumia himself, Dr. Annette here, and many of government spokespersons attribute these economic mess to external factors and COVID-19. But you see, if you study Dr. Bawumia's speech, in addressing why the cedi is depreciating, he gave 7 reasons. He never mentioned COVID-19 anywhere. And so, admittedly, Dr. Bawumia knows that the COVID has not had any impact. In fact, as long as it relates to the cedi depreciation, the COVID was our blessing. Why? In 2016, when we had all the external turbulence and whatever you can imagine, the cedi depreciated by 9.6. Then we discovered 2 additional oil fields. It was projected that the cedi will make gains in 2017 because of additional revenue inflows from oil, export of oil. And so in 2017, at the time when the president has not found 50 of his family and friends to even form a government, the cedi depreciated by 4.7. Then 2018, when they took full gear and they were in charge, the cedi depreciated by 8.4. In 2019, the cedi further depreciated by 12.9%. This was before COVID. So it cannot be the doing of COVID that we are in the mess we find ourselves in. Then COVID came in 2020. You remember we recorded our first COVID in March 2020. The cedi depreciated by 3.8 from 12.9 to 3.8, which means that the cedi made gains. And so even the COVID was our blessing. In 2021, with still COVID around, the cedi depreciated about 4.1. At the time when this blessing of the cedi appreciating and stabilizing visited us, any prudent economic manager will consolidate the gains, engage in prudent fiscal measures to make sure that we don't find ourselves in the mess that we find ourselves. What did they do? They engage in extravagant expenditure. They spent every inflows that international organizations gave us by way of COVID. And within the first quarter of 2022, the cedi has depreciated between 15 to 20%. That is the mess we find ourselves in. So I cannot even understand how Dr. Bawumia will come to the conclusion that we have done, or they have done better as managers of the economy. Then Dr. Bawumia came to inflation. Then he gave one of the lamest excuses that no economist, in fact, it amounts to economic sacrilege, that any economics will make that decision. You know what he did? He was engaged in data gerrymandering. He picked the examples from Zimbabwe, UK, Hong Kong. In fact, his favorite Japan was missing in that example, and said that in those countries, they are experiencing inflation. And so even if advanced economies are experiencing inflation, what will happen to us? And Dr. Bawumia did not tell us what is the minimum wage in those countries. He did not tell us the unemployment rate. He did not tell us how their currencies are faring. And you just pick the fact that inflation is also going, or they are experiencing inflation, so it's not a new thing. I thought Dr. Bawumia was a talisman who had all the solutions to the economic challenge. Because at the time when we were in power, UK, Hong Kong, Netherlands were also experiencing inflation. No country has had zero inflation. But the Dankwa Institute kept organizing lectures for him. And he kept bashing us and saying that inflation is so bad. In fact, he even questioned the figures put out by the Ghana Statistical Service and said that he didn't believe in those inflation and went to Malata Market to pick goods and form his own basket to come to an inflation figure. Today, the same Dr. Bawumia wants us to believe that inflation is not new and is happening in other countries. For me, that is the intellectual dishonesty in the presentation. But much more is what they blame on why we are in the mess, or what they attribute to the mess we find ourselves in. They say two things. One, they have used 25 billion cedis to clean up the financial sector. And two, they have used $1 billion or 17 billion cedis to pay excess capacity. I challenge Dr. Annette here to give us how many megawatts have they paid for as excess capacity, because that claim by Dr. Bawumia is false. If you look at the parliamentary Hansard on 17 June 2021, the Honorable Member Alhassan Suhimi asked the Finance Minister how much has been used in paying excess capacity. The Finance Minister answered that between the period of 2017 and 2020, they have paid $937.5 million. So why is Dr. Bawumia even getting the figures in the first place to say that they have paid some 17 billion cedis in excess capacity? But when I checked the Hansard, I went for the 2020 energy outlook for Ghana, demand and supply. And unless anybody in government, including Dr. Bawumia, can tell us how much megawatts are classified as excess capacity, I tell them that that claim is false. Perhaps it's another way of milking the state, like they accuse the erstwhile Mahama administration of some corrupt deal under the Ameri deal, only to come and have an enhanced Ameri innovation deal. But for the vigilance of the minority, the president would have made millions of dollars from that. And so this is also another cover-up. And I'll call on our ranking on energy to take this matter up. Because in that 2020 report, Annie, as at 2020...
So that's the figure you have on your screen?
Yes, that's the
figure. Answered. Okay.
Yes. In 2020, the installed capacity for the whole country was 5,288 megawatts. Out of this installed capacity, we have a dependable capacity of 4,842. Then we have what we call the peak demand. It's 3,090. For every plant, you need what we call the reserve margin. The reserve margin is between 15 to 20% of your dependable capacity. And then ECG also recorded transmission losses of 888 megawatts. If you do the math, we even have a deficit of 104 megawatts. It's the reason why you keep hearing them shouting excess capacity, but sometimes you have done so, which is not attributable to even technical challenges. And so if by the data from the Energy Commission, there is nothing like excess capacity, where from this noise about excess capacity? And I have a story here dated 21st April 2021. The current minister, Matthew Opoku Prempeh, said that Ghana needs to generate more power. I watched that press conference live, and it was reported by graphic.com. So who in their right senses will be paying what Dr. Bawumia says is 17 billion cedis as excess capacity charges? and the energy minister will still tell us that we need more energy. Does it even add up? And so you can see that the lecture was just one of the faces to save Dr. Bawumia, because you see, the vice president is behaving like a quack physician whose prescription cannot heal him. When he was in opposition, all the prescriptions he gave, and sometimes when you watch the lecture, you ask, does Dr. Bawumia really understand some of the structural challenges we have as a third world country? Today you are in power. You cannot apply your own prescription to find a cure. And all you do is that you mount up a strategy, or you mount a lecture, list historical data without any basis, come to the conclusion that you are doing better than the erstwhile NDC government. And another matter about the excess capacity, when we assumed power in 2009, electricity coverage was around 50 plus. By the year 2016, we had extended electricity from the 60 something, I'm not getting the figure right, but to 82.5%. On the average, we are growing 2% per annual. In total, just the Mahama administration added 15 megawatts, 2,800 plus community had electricity. You came to power. You are not doing electricity expansion. Expansion is at 0.6% on the average under you, and you are complaining about excess power. Valco is not operating at maximum capacity. B5 doesn't get the right capacity to operate. Most industries don't even have the requisite power to function. And a government that is purportedly engaging in one district, one factory, is complaining about excess power. These guys have no fresh ideas. They are just bereft of ideas. Because if you take the 129-page script, I do not find anywhere that Dr. Bawumia said anything new. And that is why when you ask Doc, what new thing did Dr. Bawumia say, she couldn't lead you to any. And let me show you why I say that. Go to page 73 of the speech. The second paragraph. This is what Dr. Bawumia said. Our assessment is that it is not a financing problem. So more borrowing will not solve the problem unless it provides fiscal space to undertake critical reforms on the expenditure and revenue sides of the budget, as well as increasing economic growth. And what did he do? The solution is that government has taken the decision and announced some revenue and expenditure measures in this regard. These are, and they copied verbatim the presentation by the finance minister to Ghanaians, verbatim, as Dr. Bawumia's solution.
Oh, it was verbatim?
Verbatim as Dr. Bawumia's solution. Except that...
But Dr. Chibodako actually said that he was not there to bring anything new.
So what was he there to do?
He was only there to bring a comprehensive report on the economy
of
based
everything
on
that
the questions that have been asked. And I read out all the 11 questions.
Based on when he wanted to ask the vice president question, but our vice president question, he presented 170 questions. When he presided over an economy and messed it up, he has set 11 questions to answer. What kind of logic is this? That Dr. Bawumia didn't have any single, and I would dare Dr. Antoinette to point me to one fresh solution that the vice president gave to cure our menace. He said that borrowing is not the solution, and yet the finance minister has told us that he's going to borrow 2 billion cedis to pay external liability to service our debt. This morning, they've also indicated that they are going to borrow 4.5 billion cedis on the domestic market to support our budget. And we are being told that Dr. Bawumia came to silence the minority or the opposition.
Borrowing is not the solution. It's not the same as I'm not going to borrow.
But that's what he said. Borrowing will not solve. So if borrowing will not solve the situation, why are you going to borrow?
No. I mean,
okay.
let's think about it logically. I'm saying that maybe my husband has passed. Eating will not bring him back to life. That doesn't mean I won't eat. Do you understand?
So how will you apply such a scenario to
that? Doesn't mean I should go hungry. I should starve. I have to eat.
I mean, the two examples have no. You see, he said that in their assessment. These are not my words. More borrowing will not solve the problem. That's what he said. And then his finance minister says that I'm going to borrow $2 billion, and in addition, I'll even borrow 4.5. And so if borrowing will not solve the problem, then why are you borrowing? But I agree with him that borrowing will not solve the problem, because for all the flagship programs that he has mentioned, which in any case is PASCO, are things that he claims has cost this government over 51 million. So if we have borrowed in excess of 251 billion cedis, and in your own presentation, you claim to have used 51 billion. The rest of the 200 million cedis, what did you use it for? And so it is evident that these guys are bereft of ideas. It is evident that they were just bragging while they were in opposition. It is evident that they had no real-time solution. They only criticized President Mahama because they wanted power to enrich their family and friends. It's as simple as that. Because, Annie, let me tell you that this argument about external shocks is neither here and there. Because every government from time immemorial, as long as you are part of the global community, you'll be faced with some external shocks.
Oh, but these are exceptional.
What is exceptional?
War.
Let me show you.
War.
Let me show you
a pandemic.
Let me show you one exceptional shock that hit us when we were in government. In 2015, we had only the Jubilee field. The capacity of the Jubilee field was 70,000 barrels per day. The turret bearing of the Jubilee field got broken, and in law we call that either force majeure or act of God, which means that none of the parties could have contemplated it. So we were not even producing at a very, maximum capacity. Then check the data from the Bank of Ghana. We pegged the benchmark price of the oil which we export at $99 per barrel. We were not producing at capacity, and then there was a meltdown of some oil communities, and the price of oil fell to $30 per barrel, from $99 per barrel to $30 per barrel. What did we do? We didn't hold a lecture to blame the oil communities and all that. At the time, even oil grew by negative 15.4. We still grew the economy by 3.6. With all these external shocks, Dr. Bawumia was aware, he knew the implication, but he said that given the resources that we had, even with the shortage in the revenue we faced at the time, when we were constructing UGMC, he said he would transform Ghana into a Dubai medical city. Those were his words, that the 620 bed at UGMC was not enough. He will make Ghana a Dubai medical city. Meanwhile, he doesn't even have one district hospital to his credit. At the time we were building 200 schools with all these revenue shortfalls, he said 200 secondary schools are nothing. He will build 600 secondary schools. Today, he does not have one. Every government has external shock. So if you do not have the administrative capacity, if you spoke beyond your mental fortitude and your ability, admit that you have failed. Admit that you are bereft of new ideas. Admit that, hey, maybe we can listen to the citizens, but don't come and be holding lectures, be giving us historical data which we are aware with no solutions. If you do that, It's as though you take us for granted.
If you're speaking the mind of both the president and the finance minister, there was one policy that the president said it was over ambiguous. What policy was that? And then it was brought online.
It was the Agenda 111. He said it was overly ambitious.
He said it was overly ambitious.
So you see,
so there's an admission at some point that some of these policies, like I was asking Doctor, that if the policies are overly ambitious and you know, some factors that you didn't expect have come to disrupt the situation, of course you have the right to review it as actually given by the president. And Dr. Bawumia is only reiterating the points made by both president and finance minister by, you know, putting the policy together and presenting it.
You see, these guys are just...
Why do you keep referring to them as guys?
So this government, let me just say, maybe these guys... So this government is just a knee-jerk government. You see, you cannot be a government that is managing an economy like Ghana with some structural rigidities and not have a plan and not actually anticipate some other shocks that your economy can face. At the time they were promising Agenda 111, they knew very well that it was overly ambitious. But the promise came at a time we were going into an election year. So they were like, just throw something out there. And it's even evident by what Dr. Bawumia said. He was on his feet at Cape Coast when they were outdooring their manifesto. They heard the NDC had outdoored their manifesto. There was nowhere that they said they will build Cape Coast Harbour. While on his feet, he just said, we will build Cape Coast Harbour. We will build Cape Coast Airport. Where is the harbour and the airport? So you cannot manage an economy without planning. And my fear even is that in the midst of all these discussions, these guys have no plans. Because you see, for the plans that, or for the measures that we are being told has been announced by the Vice President and has also been announced by the Finance Minister, and Dr. Bawumia just came to regurgitate it. There is nothing new. Let me show you. First, the plan is that they will complete or they will place moratorium on the purchase of vehicles. And if you have the budget, check paragraph 329 of the budget. That is there already. Tax exemption bill, check paragraph 320 of the budget. It is there already. Cleaning of the payroll of ghost name, check paragraph 323 of the budget. It is there already. Tax compliance and implementation of modified taxation, check paragraph 300 and 301. Property tax, check page 2 and paragraph 247, sub paragraph 2 and paragraph 303. Pursue debt reprofiling, check page 259. Cut foreign travels. In fact, that directive, the first one was given on 21st March 2017. The second one was given on 10th March 2020. In fact, after that directive, the president used another 3.5 million to travel in the space of 5 days. So that directive is as bogus as anything.
Which one, the foreign travels?
Yes. The president went for a leadership conference with 3.5 private jets. So that is bogus. Now conclude negotiations with IPP. The same thing was announced on 28 September 2020. So even the measures that they went to Peduase at the expense of the taxpayer, the president regurgitated in the SONA. The finance minister held a press conference and Dr. Bawumia spoke 2 hours, 18 minutes, are things which are already in the budget. So where lies the fresh ideas, or what innovative things are they doing to make sure that the economy is moved from the mess we find ourselves to an economy that can have some hope? And I hear that Dr. Bawumia is engaged in some digitization drive. Dr. Antoinette should tell us how many fiber optics did this government lay? What is their investment there? And they said, oh, even because of our digitization agenda, we have made a revenue of 1.1 million. This is at page 89 of the speech, from new passports that have been processed. If you make a revenue of 1.1 from passports, and in one travel you use 3.5, like we say in our local parlance, did we go or did we come? So the lecture was just one of those face-saving lecture. For a very long time, I have even said that Dr. Bawumia has an economic sore throat. He came out to prove to us that, well, I don't have any economic sore throat, except that I can regurgitate everything everybody has been saying. But this time, in one presentation, at least that is what Dr. Antoinette is making us believe. So what is new about this government? They are tired. They are tired. Perhaps they've made every money they want to make. They are tired because there is no desire, or there is you don't see an effort on the part of government officials to even make the lives of people better. There isn't any effort. The same extravagance, the same travels, the same corruption. Nothing new, nothing is changing.
So I'll let Doctor respond to all the issues you've raised. Exceptional items, we have the expenditure on exceptional items, financial sector, excess capacity charges, COVID-19. So the financial sector, we spent 25 billion, 17 billion for excess capacity, COVID-19, 8.1 billion, amounting to 50.1 billion. And then we also have flagship programs, government flagship programs as presented by the finance minister. We have the free SHS, one district, one factory. Free SHS actually took 5.3 billion. One district, one factory, 0.472 billion. Planting for food and jobs, 2.95 billion. Development authorities, 1.90 billion. NAPCO, 2.1 billion. Zango Development Fund, 0.17 billion. Doc, let me find out from you. The Zango Development Fund. You have said in that video we played again that you know, some of the benefits are not felt directly. They actually will be indirect benefits. But if you look at the Zango Development Fund, for example, it should be something that should be directly felt. Or you don't agree? I mean, because by the nature of the Zangos, if any investment is done in that area, people in that area should feel it, and even onlookers should be able to tell that, oh, something is being done within the Zangos. So 0.17 billion, what is it that we did within the Zango development area?
Would you want me to respond to some of the things?
Yeah, you may, but you can also respond to this.
We are just also shifting straight away into a different phase, and I think it's very, very important that I correct Beatrice's assumption and declarations and assertions and things. You see, I think what Beatrice is failing to do this morning is to take a proper holistic analysis of the Vice President's lecture. And even before I delved into what His Excellency Dr. Bawumia sought to explain, I said, look at the 11 questions. Now, if you go into a lecture and you give the content of your lecture, and you didn't stick to the content of your lecture, people can rubbish your lecture. He sought to explain. He actually summarized. He was on his feet for 2 hours, 18 minutes. He summarized all the questions and issues that people were asking him to explain. There was a consistent attack on his credibility in the media, and etc. Go assertions here, flippant remarks here and there. And he sought to and he backed it with data. And Beatrice actually questions the data. Data from Bank of Ghana, data from Statistical Service, data from Ministry of Finance. You are questioning that data, but at a point you yourself start to refer to the data when you say Bank of Ghana. You see, so that kind of controversies, and Beatrice, let me finish. That kind of controversy, he was not supplied the data. It is data that you can go onto the website and you can verify and you can check. Now, she sought to establish different things about inflation. And I find that very, very hard to... I mean, I look at the contradictions in some of what she was saying, and I'm asking myself that, is she actually looking at the inflation rates and the figures? Is she looking at the depreciation of the cedi rate? Is she actually checking the errors during which the cedi has suffered its greatest depreciation? Dr. Bawumia attested to the fact that the first quarter of 2022, the cedi depreciated by 15.5%. He didn't just leave that statement hanging. He went further to explain the reasons why this has happened. And he asserted, he said, yes, during this time, it has suffered its greatest depreciation. But still, when you look at the totality, over the period from 2017 till now, the cedi has still not suffered the depreciation it suffered between the previous administration. So I think that when you start to pick figures, you pick the first quarter of 2022, and then you compare it to a whole 4 or 5 years. It's a wrong assumption. Go look at the averages, and he provides it for Beatrice. You don't even have to search. You don't have to do average analysis. He's provided it there for you. It is in the graphs.
That's a
it is
wrong
all over
average
there.
analysis.
You need to go there. You need to go there and this is from Bank of Ghana. Okay. Calculate it, and you will find out the fact. You see, one thing that he does not do is he doesn't come there with his own calculations. He comes there with facts and figures that when you go into on the website, you can actually. I like the way Dr. Dufour, when you were talking, how he speaks to the period President Mills. What about after? What are we doing after? I thought she was going to continue. She was going to tell us after Mills what happened and you know, talk about some of the issues that you raised. But she doesn't say that, you know. So for me, I find out that it is very easy to pick what you want to talk about. But tell me a lot of things about the period 2013 to 2016. Tell me about, she says that there was a lot of external and internal. What external and internal factors? Please list them. Give us those things so that we can compare. He gave you a comparative analysis. He tells you what is happening. Okay, so when you say data gerrymandering from where? From Bank of Ghana. Would that Bank of Ghana have data gerrymandering from there? And you see, this thing about the financial sector collapse, it is a very, very true issue. And thank you for pointing it out. He carefully explained what happened. And he also went to talk about the IPP contracts. And I'm surprised. You see, one thing that Beatrice didn't talk about was how much in the IPP contracts, how do you buy power at a price where you can't even sell? You know, we have long-standing agreements to exporting some of our power. Now you end up signing contracts at a price where you can't even sell outside. What are you going to do? So you sell it at a loss. We've agreed with Burkina Faso to supply them so much power over certain. So these are the things that we've had to pay for. And it has increased our debt stock. And the numbers and the figures are there to show. We are trying to clean all of that. And what then do? We then have COVID hits us. So just when you are recovering and solving all of these things, you get another bank. And then it retrogresses what you are trying to. Look, this financial sector, you know, one of the things that I wanted to point is, and I have a few Lebanese friends who told me that you are heading in that direction, Ghana. Why do we want to keep arguing about the fact that what the government did with the financial sector cleanup was to protect the savings of depositors? Were we going to wait until a time when you would go to the bank to take your money and then you couldn't get your money out? Look at, and there are still people who will tell you that they haven't received, or depending on which financial institution or whatever they went to, talk about the men's gold and the extra, the ones that were not even on Bank of Ghana. You know, so it is issues that are long-standing. And if we had not solved those problems and COVID had hit us, it would have been disastrous. Look, at the time when COVID came, the peak of COVID, just before we went to shut down, the amount of withdrawals people made, where was the banks going to find all that money from? Because there were banks that had the numbers on paper, but they didn't have the money. And who allowed all of that? Why didn't the sector regulators at that point make sure that these things were corrected? Are you going to blame all of that? Who are you going to blame? You know, so Beatrice, these are questions that we need to ask. These are questions that we need to delve into and to understand. If you go to Lebanon today, you are only allowed the maximum of £400 or $400 withdrawal at a time. Is that what we're waiting for it to hit our economy? Is that what we're waiting to happen if we didn't clean? So where and how do we attribute certain things? And he sought to explain all of this through the 11 questions. Look, there is no way. I can point to, she talked a lot about this thing. You said excess capacity. You said we expanded electricity, we exceeded electricity. So you exceeded all of that and they were still doing so. I've seen publications that Mr. Kwabena Donkor submitted his resignation. Graphic on 30th June, Mahama admitted we are not out of Doomso yet. Chamber of Commerce was angry with Mahama over Doomso. The Doomso was a reality. It hit people. It even hit the hairdresser. It affected people's businesses. So many reports. I myself did a research on small businesses that had collapsed as a result of Doomso. And today you sit here and you justify, you talk about Doomso like it was a very happy era for us. It was not. You did all the electricity expansion. But how come despite that there was Doomso? You know, today you see it in the papers that there's going to be, Gridco says we are going to shut down for a certain period of time or something. Is that Doomso? What we went through in Doomso? What we went through in Doomso, is that what we are comparing to maintenance works, electricity works, etc., situations which they seek to come and explain and say what is happening? Is that what we are comparing it to? I think we need to understand what the Vice President's lecture was. And in fact, I wanted her to come and he asked 170 questions. Beatrice pointed it out at a certain time. Please, who answered those 170 questions? Because I was trying to look for the answers to the 170 questions. I didn't even see it. I was asking. And you see, when you say that Agenda 111, what happened? What birthed Agenda 111? COVID trackers, we realized the deficiency. That the previous administration says we have created so much hospitals, built so much hospital beds, but we realized that we could even get shortages in our health system. That is when Agenda 111 came into being. We will put together district hospitals. At that time, what were we trying to do? To save lives. To ensure that if this COVID, if the pandemic had struck and had continued in the magnitude which we saw happen in other countries, we didn't want our health system to collapse. So there had to be all resources diverted in that direction to make sure that we put up enough beds, hospitals in every area. Fortunately for us, it didn't go that way. Put resources into other things. Stagger Agenda 111, but eventually we will get there. I have seen pictures, I've visited areas where the Agenda 111 project is ongoing, so I don't know what we are saying about it. Okay, and then this assertion that she makes about knee-jerk government. The statistics are there. Go and look at GDP growth rate. Go and look at the number of industries that have never, unprecedented, since Nkrumah's time. We haven't put industrialization into the drive that we see today. What does it take to do all of it? It takes money, and it will strengthen the economy. One of the things that I keep saying is, look, compare all the different countries across board. Look at the Malaysia, the Singapore, etc. One of the most significant aspects about what they do is the building or the strengthening of human capacity, Human Development Index. For me, this free SHS, which has been lambasted, talked about, discussed, etc. Beatrice, give 15 years. Hopefully you and I will still be around and we can have a panel to discuss.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the impact of adding 3 more years of education to a lot of people's lives, and how that has improved our Human Development Index and the contribution that is making to development. One thing that I want to talk about when it comes to unemployment, and I always say, I said one of the things that the previous administration didn't do well was the freeze on public sector employment. Because a lot of people come out of school and the first thing they want to do is to look at public sector employment. But you freeze public sector and you want people to run away to where? We've opened up public sector employment. Afterwards, we are even encouraging entrepreneurship with the YouStart program, the Obatampa Cares program, and etc. So what then do you seek to achieve when you say that knee-jerk government? Knee-jerk government that reacts to what? Sustained an economy through COVID and through the war, and we are still surviving. Have you seen the queues in Nigeria and other oil exporting countries? Where have you looked at the world market and looked at the prices of basic commodities, and we are still surviving? We get water to drink, food to eat. Have you checked all of these things properly? No, obviously you haven't done that. Otherwise you wouldn't be calling it a knee-jerk government. Believe me, I think that it is time for us to take a holistic picture. And that is what the Vice President sought to do. He achieved it. He looked at these questions in a holistic manner, and he provided for it. And to sit and say that digitization is not part of the agenda and is not linked to it, and if you've made, he has transformed that sector. It's a way of sealing the loopholes and making sure that those agencies are what? Are becoming more sustainable. Look at DVLA. Look at the amount of money they are generating. Look at passport. Look at the amount of... You cannot but argue that those things are what? Are positive gains for us. They are positive gains for us. So if you sit and you look at all of that and you think there are no positive gains, go and register your car today or go and do your license and see if it's not a positive gain today. Try doing your passport and see if it is not a positive gain today. Look at what Ghana Football Association made from the last match when they digitized it. And the Vice President mentioned all of that. These are realistic examples that we need to analyze and look. And you see, if we keep analyzing these things and bring them to bear, it will continue. It will help us on that better path of growth. But where you keep disabusing the fact, looking at the figure, saying that it is not true, it is not helping, and etc. When you come, what will you do? Will you come and abolish it, or you continue it? It's for the whole of Ghana to accept and to understand these things, and it is there, it is realistic, and he brought it out. So for me,
So let's come to the question that I asked earlier on. It's okay. Yes, it's okay to provide the figures of what we've spent on the flagship programs, but it's also very demanding that ministers in charge, maybe MMD is in charge, will give us a breakdown of the direct and indirect benefits of these amounts that we spent on the policies. Zongo Development Fund actually is also been on my mind. I just want to know, what are there some indirect benefits that we're not seeing that are really not tangible, but there are benefits, there are stuff that have been done within that policy. Maybe other policies we can look at later.
I haven't really, I don't know if we're here to discuss the Zongo Development Fund, but what I'll say is that the Zongo Development Fund has supported so many infrastructure projects in Zongo communities. Talk about the AstroTurf, classroom blocks, dormitories, information, ICT centers, bridges, roads, drainage systems, inner cities to improve. And that was the idea behind it. So let's look at these communities and ask ourselves, what are their needs? If the Zongo Development Fund was not like LEAP, to say that I'm going to pay out money to beneficiaries. No, that is not what it is. And you see, this is where I keep emphasizing. As a social development researcher, when you put together statistics and variables on what these infrastructure projects translate into the lives of people, it is significant. It is needs-based. It is necessity-based. That is what the fund sought to do. And it has done so successfully. So for me, I don't understand when people say that it is not being felt. It is not being felt when at first you didn't have a bridge. It is not being felt when you had a collapsing classroom block. You understand what I'm saying? And that is where we need to keep sensitizing people's minds to. Bringing people's mind to the what? To the intangible benefits of where the money goes to. The intangible benefits, you see, this administration seeks to ensure that the Ghanaian is holistically developed in the long run. And when you seek to ensure that people are holistically developed in the long run, it's not about additional money to them, or it's not about knee-jerk movements and short-term things. No, it's about addressing the needs of people that satisfy them today and in the long run also benefits them. That means that you need to be what? Specific and targeted. And that's what the Zongo Development Fund was about. Okay, so
thank you for that response. But Member of Parliament Hassan Suhuyini says that, is it Dr. Bawumia or Alan who spoke on truth? I have seen a very poor, as we called it in my days in the newsroom, salacious fact check news reports on the excess capacity charge by Dr. Bawumia at his last test talk on Ghana's economy. The so-called fact check says nothing about what may have been wrong with the finance minister's answer to Parliament in June 2021, for which reason Bawumia's figures is deemed correct. It is suggesting that for 4 years we paid about 7 billion Ghana cedis, translating into $937 million. In less than 1 year, we paid the 10 billion more. Meanwhile, nobody in government seemed to know the quantity of megawatts that was produced by these IPPs and not utilized by the government, for which these so-called payments are made. The finance minister who made the payments didn't know the quantity of the unused megawatts he paid for. Meanwhile, another figure worth examining is Dr. Bawumia's claim that the government has spent 472 billion Ghana cedis on one district, one factory so far, just like the excess capacity charge lie exposed by the finance minister's answer to my question in Parliament. The Minister of Trade, Honorable Alan Kyerematen, in an answer to the question I asked on behalf of the Ibrahim Mutala, Honorable Member, told Parliament in February this year that the government helped mobilize 2.69 billion Ghana cedis loans from participating financial institutions for beneficiary 1D1F companies. It says that this amount has been leveraged through the disbursement of an amount of 260.9 million Ghana cedis by this government as subsidy to the risk loans and support interest payment for beneficiary 1D1F companies. The projects 1D1F companies and projects. So it is the Bawumia figure of 400. Is it the Bawumia figure of 472 million Ghana cedis or Alan's figure of 260.9 million Ghana cedis last February on the floor of Parliament? And this was made. You can check the VIP's documents, subsidy on 1D, 1F, and you find the details so you can do the comparison. This one says that Wolanya from Akocha says, will the NDC encounter Dr. Bawumia's intellect in economic analysis and resist from sheer insult, names calling, and giving to disrupt the ears of we, the meaningful Ghanaians? Okay, I don't know about insults. We haven't given any insults on this platform. This one says, as hi, Annie, the NPP government always like to... Okay, I'm not going to use some words, so I'll skip this message. Annie, you have asked a good question. What is new about the Dr. Bawumia's lecture after the President and Finance Minister have spoken? The fact of the matter is that there is hardship everywhere. You buy something in the morning, when you go back in the evening, the same thing in the afternoon, the price will be running like Usain Bolt. So what has mismanagement of the economy got to do with Russia and Ukraine war? Does it stop the president from hiring expensive private jets? Did it bring back the banks they used 25 billion to collapse? Do we buy cassava from Russia too? The wrong time to be in government, to be a government communicator, is asking. So they take refuge in the noisy sound of the sea. Chris from Ashali said that. In so Obama Pokwasi says, Beatrice Annan is incredibly interesting. How can any serious-minded student of economics sit on TV and gleefully compare the ravaging effects of COVID-19 and Russia-Ukraine war to the broken turret bearing on Ghana's Jubilee? Ghana Jubilee failed and proceed to make a justification that the Mahama administration equally suffered an external shock. How does the latter equate to the former? She flippant with her propaganda sophistry on set. Gracious me, you say good morning to you, Obama, as well. Good morning, Annie. For some of us, there has been no gains made anywhere in our economy in the first place. It has been just borrowing. No investment have been made, and it has been spending on consumables all along. Dr. Bawumia's presentation sounded more political and defensive than anything else. Instead of agreeing that they have woefully failed as a government and tell us what they plan doing differently to solve the situation, all we hear is about comparing figures with what happened under the previous regime that left office some 5 years ago. They surely need to be changed as a government. Some of easily gone. And they says that, Annie, please tell Doctor that the investment in increasing energy capacity came after Dumso and not on the other way around. Please check below. And he sent me the figures to prove that. Thank you. Marcus Gavin says that, so can't you ask this lady how Dumso was solved? You mean, Doctor? Okay. Jifa says, good morning, Annie. Can you please ask Dr. Antoinette what has happened to the government delivery tracker website? Dr. Bawumia told us, website Dr. Bawumia told us about. The site has been down for more than a year. Actually, I have been trying to go on that site because I used to use it when it was first launched. But now when I go on it, I can't access. I really can't access. Doctor, what has happened to that? Good morning to you, Annie. A great morning to you, ladies panel. Please rescue the doctor. I believe the mess within the economy really require 2 NPP communicators to face Bridget. Oh, please, come on. Please, I'll leave it here. Don Palo.
I think you should let me
yes, I'll also give time to some viewers. Don Pano Malam says that, Annie, please, after the rants, it's not rants, Don Pano. I won't read it. Your screen is off, Tornado, so you check your screen. Beatrice.
Okay, so Annie, first of all, let me say that Doc, as a social development researcher, I expect that by this time they should have done an impact assessment research on the COVID-19. So you can't just be bundling figures around and say that the impact is COVID-19 when on some breath you say it is not COVID-19, when it suits your whims and caprices you say it's COVID-19. But let me clear some misconceptions.
Why did you say it's not COVID-19?
They said it's COVID-19.
Who is the day?
In their speech.
Yeah, but you said you are referring to me now. So
no, I'm saying that.
You're saying that at some point I say COVID-19 and you don't know if I have carried an impact analysis.
So you're saying that. No, if you have, you would have been out.
No.
If you have, you haven't.
No.
Because if what is research if it's not published?
You don't. But it's not about putting everything out in the public. Why you want you to put out every research I've done in the public?
It's not about you.
Have you read everything? But you haven't read everything about the Dankwa Institute. So don't jump to conclusions when you have you read?
Have you published?
We have. We put
but
out
the
a lot of
Dankwa
things about the
Institute is
debt
not
price and
publishing
everything. It's not everything
they are not there as a mouthpiece of government, are they?
They are a branch.
Have you also,
government.
Who said we are a branch of government?
No.
We are not.
No, let's get it clear.
Let me check your
Institute
facts
is not a mouthpiece
before you come out.
The
We are not.
It's not a mouthpiece of government.
We are not.
It's not a mouthpiece. So let me correct some misconception. But she's here
Correct
speaking for
yours
government.
first.
Yes, she's speaking for government, but not as Dankwa Institute speaking for government.
So today she's not the executive
she
director.
She speaks for government by the government spokesperson, yes.
So today she's not executive director, she's government spokesperson.
She's executive director, but she's not speaking as a government, Dankwa Institute being the mouthpiece
so
of
she's
government.
speaking for government.
For
So I'll treat her
yes.
as a government spokesperson.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm saying that it's wrong for anybody to say that the NDC freeze employment. And that's some of the propaganda and baseless allegations that in the run-up to 2016 election, they used to tarnish the hard-won image of President John Mahama. Let me tell you that in 2009, when the NDC took over, the public sector payroll, which is by way of the people who have been employed, handed over to the NDC, was 404,072. And you can check this at paragraph 117 of the 2008 budget. By the time the NDC was exiting power in 2016, the public sector had grown to 628,000. When you do the calculation, the NDC within the space of 8 years added 200,000 plus to the public wage.
Did you freeze
with
employment?
But with freeze, when we freeze employment and we employ 200,000, and with all the noise and the supposed non-freeze of public sector employment, in your budget presented to Parliament, you have employed only 83,950. You can check Appendix 7A of the 2020 budget. So you didn't freeze employment. In 4 years, you have employed 83,000.
And in 8 years you employed?
So I can even give it.
It's a fact that
I can even give you.
You did it. You
please,
put a moratorium on
I
public
didn't
sector
interrupt
employment.
you, so don't
We didn't have a choice.
I didn't interrupt
saw
you.
it in
Please
the
don't
university.
interrupt me. Between 2012 and 2016, which is just John Mahama, we added 112,374 to the public sector. You have done 83,000. What kind of WAP logic is this? That the person who increased public employment over 100,000 froze
with a freeze.
With a freeze. But the person who added 83,000 by your figure is better. Where from this mathematics? So that's why I am not confused that Dr. Bawumia in his speech will praise himself for the policy rate. You see, these are some of the things that get us in the mess because governance, I keep saying, under this government has been reduced to PR gimmick. These people keep saying, what is the lending rate? Or what is the policy rate? We have reduced it. And you see that our economy is largely driven by foreign investors. The money we have, majority of it are from foreign investors. We don't even have that local capacity. And so when you have such an economy, you cannot base building that economy on rhetorics by saying that we reduce lending rates and policy rates. You see, policy rate is what we call the indicative rate, where all other rates are hedged around. So if policy rate is around 14, it's likely lending rates and other things will be hedged around those figures. At the time, inflation was 15.7. Your policy rate was around 14.7. And the government and Dr. Bawumia and Nonado kept going everywhere saying, oh, policy rate was low. And it puts pressure on the central bank. And so they could not increase the policy rate. But which serious investor will buy a 91-day treasury bill at 13% when inflation is 15.7? When you go for your money, you have made loss. So this is what happened. There was something we call the capital flow reversal. Investors began to take their monies out because it was not lucrative to invest. Dr. Bawumia has acknowledged that fact as part of the 7 reasons he gave for the cedi depreciation. And yet you waited because you wanted praise that policy rate was this. You messed up the economy and you are saying that we should applaud you. I can't even get it. Where from this analysis, is it the case that they think that everybody doesn't understand economics, and so let's put something out there and get people debating like we are doing this morning? And then you talk about IPP. I mean, many people do not know, but I'm also a research fellow of the Institute for Energy Security. Because I'm partisan, sometimes I don't put these things out because it's a non-partisan organization. Every energy contract, and Doug is a researcher, so she can research. Normally, you would do what we call the take or pay, because if you tell the IPPs that you need a certain megawatt, they will use those contracts to raise LCs, and they have calculated their cash inflows based on those LCs and what have you. And this is very general, it's a standard practice in the energy industry. This is what is done. And so let nobody deceive Ghanaians that because we had a take or pay agreement, those agreements were reckless. It is that recklessness that led government to cancel the GCPC deal that landed us $170 million in judgment debt, because GPGC and the international arbitration is not an arm of government. So they will not listen to government, they will not, kowtow to government oppression and what have you. And so I expect that this government will acknowledge the mess they have created. Who uses 25 billion cedis to correct a situation that needs less than 10 billion? Who does that?
So let me capture this from the former health minister,
Alex
Egbefia. Good morning, sir. He's watching. He says that we started with 88 hospitals with a deadline. It was then changed to 111 hospitals with another deadline of 18 months. Now the president says that by the time he leaves office, in all this, no matter how much work is ongoing, a single hospital has not been completed. This is a savior of this government. We are only measuring them by their own words, as you say. Okay, and Mr. Chumbafo also says that Annie, Dr. Bawumia, recital of excuses for the economic chaos he has supervised over the last 5 years makes a mockery of common sense. Can you kindly explain to Dr. Chibudako that what we go to the pumps to buy, when we go to the pump to buy fuel, we don't pay the difference in rates. When we need dollars to finance our businesses, we don't pay the precipitous difference in rates and growth rates. In December 2021, you needed 6,000 Ghana cedis to buy $10,000. Today, 4 months later, you need 80,000 Ghana cedis. Okay, the first one is 60,000. This one is 80,000 Ghana cedis to buy $10,000. The cedi has depreciated in a whopping 25% in real terms in 4 months between 2016 and now. And fuel prices per gallon has also gone up by 16 Ghana cedis per gallon to 46 per gallon, and almost 300 cedis increase. And electricity rates have also been increased since February 2022 by 100% and is scheduled to increase further in June. Today is what we speak. Today, as we speak, ECG simply arrogates themselves service charge of your prepaid meter every month without any recourse to customers on. Okay. Okay, let me read here. So meantime, while all this is going on, the president finds time to engage in luxurious pursuits, like flying the LXGO private jets and sleeping in the most expensive hotel rooms in the world. It's long, so I'll just leave it here. Okay, so this is what time will allow us. Doctor, thank you. Beatrice, thank you. Let's go for a break, and when we come back, we'll have our GMG trends. Are you hopeful about Ghana?
I cannot afford not to.
Is it just because you are Ghanaian?
There's too much going for Ghana for it not to work.
Ghana is not a poor country.
And why do you say that?
We are a poorly managed country.
Lifestyle, the way and manner a people live, their politics, way of governance, socio-cultural lifestyle, health habits, and everything that comes with it. Lifestyle with Rosie is a show about Ghana and for Ghana.
Is there something like an ideal time for a woman to have a child?
Early 20s.
Doc, you agree with me?
The time they are telling you, don't be, that is the time that your body says, yes, this is the best time.
Interesting. Are people taking more mortgage, or people are self-building their homes still as it's been?
Vast number of people still out there that are buying the land. Unfortunately, some people actually pass away and that building never gets completed.
But you can also die through paying mortgage.
Well, there's a way to go around that anyway, so you're covered.
Right. Ghana is for us. If we don't talk about our issues and highlight our challenges and find solutions to them, who will? Lifestyle with Rosie is here to bring you all the intricate conversations of nation building, on health, and all the complexities of life that we find difficult to talk about as a people. Hi, my name is Rosie, and I'm your host on this show. There are no limits to what to expect. It's educative, informative, thought-provoking, and very exciting. And oh yes, I can't wait to spend time with you Saturdays at 6 p.m. Make a date.
The all-new original Ayuko Drive is finally here on Original 91.9 FM every weekday from 6 to 9 p.m. I'm your chief driver, the Bandolero, the people them favorite souvenir and chancellor, Sammy B, and DJ was asking owners of businesses, both big and small, to join in on the Ayuko experience. Advertise on the all-new Ayuko Drive on 91.9 FM starting this month of April, and your business will never be the same. Original Ayuko Drive. Let us go.
All right, you're welcome back. It's time for GMG Trends. Welcome. Why
Thank you, Annie. They should have picked you.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, so let's start with, to me, some sad news. I mean, to others, I mean, the two of us, sad news for us, but to others, good news. So, Asante Kotoko, the porcupines, is trending. Kotoko is trending because they defeated Hearts of Oak at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium 1-0, and I don't even know why they are jubilating and are excited, because it was a penalty. But let's go to Twitter and take some
Every goal be goal.
Every goal we go. Let's go to Twitter and take some of the comments over there. Now, this one says, full time, they threatened the porcupine with strangulation and they ended up losing their hands. Yashawa, never a penalty in a million years. Kotoko were better and should have scored more goals, but this is a no. Referee lost the plot all game, and this one moment epitomized his performance. Okay. That was from George Ado Jr. Okay. This Sadiq Adam says, there is no bigger game under the universe today than Asante Kotoko versus Hearts of Oak. Absolutely no game. I mean, when it comes to Ghana here, Ghana Premier League is quite big. I'll say it's big, very, very big. Just over 15,000 fans attended the Kotoko versus Hearts game at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. Let's move away from football and talk about something beautiful. Now, Mr. Easy and Temi Otedola. Yeah, Miss Daisy proposed to her on a bended knee. That's it over there. And Twitter is excited.
Is she pregnant?
I don't think so. She is not. Probably her gown and...
Is that looking like pregnancy?
Oh no, she's not pregnant.
Oh.
She's not pregnant at all. But they've been dating for 5 years, 5 solid years, and finally he proposed and she said yes. Now Twitter is excited. They are still excited because it's still trending. So let's take some of the reactions. Miss Daisy has proposed to Temi Otedola. You're over 13. You're still on Twitter posting the screenshots of the guys in your DM. Okay.
Which one to do that? I mean, which one to do that?
Best thing not to attend Mr. Easy and Temi Otedola wedding with your CV. That is if you get invited. Seeing how Mr. Easy engaged Temi Otedola after a long time relationship makes me believe more in love. So let's follow each other. Something good might be. She's one beautiful girl. She's using this opportunity to get the men into her DM. Oh, Mr. Easy has proposed to Temi Otedola. Congratulations to the beautiful couple. Beautiful, beautiful.
She's one of the young...
Look at this one. Let me not catch you. Marriage is a man's loss, but if you still want to marry, just like Mr. Easy, marry a rich woman. Look at this guy.
Our
ideas.
Our own. Well, that's why his handle is called Bongo Ideas. If you don't agree, you can just scroll. Keep scrolling.
Bobrisky also says, can you people see where Mr. Easy proposed to Temi Otedola? No crowd, just 2 of them. But even now you go carry your big head, go shop right, so where people fool, and you go still go collect embarrassment on top. You know, those kind of videos that were trending where the man will propose and the lady will say no, and then
in some cases they receive slaps.
So I'm sure that's what Bobrisky is talking about. So most, Miss Daisy and Temi Otedola engaged to be married after almost 5 years.
They are one couple I follow on Instagram. I cannot. There's this thing about them. They're young, but they understand relationships so well.
So good.
And sometimes I just want to see what's going on with them. And they gel with fooling,
everything,
playing,
they're cute
eating,
together,
being gentle,
and the fact that her father is so excited about this, like he's
the girl. I don't know if I got the information right, but from the
she was the one who hit on him.
She was the one who hit on him first. Yes, and so I was wondering how is this, and I think Easy, he's just gotten it so easy.
Oh yeah. So. And you see how he is laid back on music. He's more cashing out with businesses and all that, but
than music.
Than music, and he's doing so well. Now moving on to as Mr. Easy and Temi Otedola are about to get married. Somebody actually died because of marriage. Now, Osinachi has been trending. This one is sad. You know the one who sang Ekueme, Ekueme? I have a friend who is an atheist, but anytime he listens to the song, he cries. He wants to believe there is a God just because of this particular song. And that is the man who beat Osinachi too.
Oh, that's the husband?
Yes,
I've
that's
been
the
looking
husband.
for the picture.
That is the husband. Just take a look at him. That is the man who has made us lose Osinachi.
So is it that he beat her to pulp until she died?
So he has been beating her for several years.
I know the abuse.
Yes, he's been beating her.
But her current situation, her current death.
She was sick, but that is what they are saying. But apparently it was a beating that caused her death.
Okay.
It was a beating. And a lot of people have come out to express their anger, especially how religious bodies will tell you that, it's marriage. God frowns on divorce. So even if you're in an abusive relationship, still be there. So this one says, you see all those deep-rooted Christians. No, let me read that one. Oh, okay, let me. She'll cry her heart out during ministrations. Little did we know that it wasn't just for spiritual burdens.
But emotional.
Like this particular reaction got me. Like I really felt it. I felt it a lot, and I'm sure when we listen to and watch her, be like, oh, she's so in the mood, or she's so spiritual. But and lastly, before I leave,
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
you want to know how to build with the latest building technology? Or do you want to build a smart house? Or do you want to know how the world of real estate is fast changing? Then your best bet